There's a difference between apologizing over an assessment and acknowledging that the assessment that you have now is different than the one that you had before because the circumstances have changed. I present to you exhibit number 77, Jeff Carter. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates that I hope you'll check out. Penguins 4, Coyotes 2. Last night at PPG Paints Arena, I was there covering it for DK Pittsburgh Sports, and I witnessed with mine own eyes a power play goal a minute 20 into this game. Place went bonkers. Ryan Mill, the PA announcer, even had a little bit of fun with it in enunciating every syllable of power play goal when he announced Jake Gensel's one-timer with assists to Sidney Crosby and Valtteri Puustinen. Jake would end up with 2 goals because he'd had an empty netter, but the star of the game, singular, was Carter. 2 goals, one of them a shorthanded breakaway in which his pull-away speed after Drew O'Connor had gotten him the puck, and O'Connor really fought for that. That's a hard-earned assist. Beat 2 Coyotes along the boards, skated up, saw Carter moving ahead, just shoved it forward to him. Carter goes in and does the rest, backhanding a beauty behind Connor Ingram. And really just kind of lift the whole place up. You could feel it with this crowd. The game had been kind of back and forth. There'd been some ups and downs. There'd been some mistakes made in the defensive zone. And here Arizona goes on a power play, and man, there comes a dagger. That is a dagger. Shorthanded goals are killers. They're bloodthirsty killers in hockey. Carter, better yet, would get the winner in the third period on a power play, no less, by planting himself in front of Ingram, old Tim Kerr style. For those of you who go way back with hockey, just wasn't going to be budged from the front of that net. Chris Letang saw him, blasted a shot probably about a foot off the ice, exactly where you want it for tipping purposes, and tip it Carter did. And wow, add to that 7 face-off wins out of 8 total, some decent defensive work, and there he was relegated to the 4th line. Now, if you know about Mike Sullivan and Carter, you're not going to be surprised that the head coach was glowing afterward on this subject.
I think it's been invaluable from our standpoint. You know, it's he's just a really good pro. You know, I think he recognizes the circumstance, and he wants to do anything he can to help the team win. And so he's willing to embrace any role we ask him to play. And you know, and I think that's a great example for all of us that we can learn from. And so, you know, I know his teammates have a lot of respect for him and his body of work in this league and what he does for our team. Certainly his coaching staff does as well. But I think just his willingness to embrace any role we ask of him is, from my standpoint, has been just a terrific example for all of us. And I just think it's another way that he leads. You know, he's part of the leadership group of this team, and you know, obviously we're thrilled for him that he gets a couple goals tonight, but we ask him to play so many situations. He can play in the middle, he can play on the wing. We put him on a power play at the net front. He can kill penalties for us. He helps us defend leads down the stretch, and I think he's played really well since we've reinserted him in the lineup. And so when you get down to the last 6-7 minutes of the game and you're trying to defend a lead, you know, we as a coaching staff, we have a lot of trust in him. You know, he sees the play so well. He's so conscientious defensively. He can play the wing. He can play center. he just, I think that type of a skill set is invaluable in those situations.
Carter, meanwhile, was just talking about the team afterward. He was talking about all of the work that the power play guys had put in. He was talking about where the team is right now, how it's fought to battle through real adversity. And here, just listen to this exchange he and I had. What can you say in general about the way this team's kind of stuck with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Overall play, not just power play.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of guys in here that have been around for a while. That really helps, I think. Just keeping everybody calm. There's been a lot of talk about our power play and our play as of late and not winning games. You look at the standings, we're still right there.
Yes, sure.
So you look at the big picture, it's stick with it. We've dug ourselves a little bit of a hole, but it's not that big. Stick with it. We got a lot of hockey left. See where it goes.
Okay, so that's a whole lot of goodness, right? So time for an apology, right? Well, here again, no. If you've been listening to me long enough, you'll know I'll be the first one to say, hey, I was wrong, I screwed up, this and that. But that's not the case here. Carter is performing markedly better now than even before that handful of healthy scratches that he had earlier this season. Kyle Dubas has acknowledged that on the record. Sullivan has acknowledged it multiple times and repeated it last night. Something happened to Carter in that period, I think, that got him to, say, hey, I'm only doing this one more time. Maybe this is probably it. I can't imagine that he's going to get an NHL contract after this season, being a tick away from age 40. And he's had himself an outstanding overall NHL career, chiefly in his time with the Kings, of course. But even when he came over to Pittsburgh, and this was one of the Penguins' better forwards when he first arrived. It was one of Ron Hextall's few good trades. Lousy contract after the fact, but a really good trade. Second rounder for Carter coming over and being your main guy right through the playoffs. That's an exchange you'll take 100 times out of 100. But he is the one who changed. Now, if you're going to be one of those stubborn people who comes up with an opinion or a stance and says, I am never, ever changing this thing, kind of the way it works in politics these days, then you're never going to change your mind about him. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to acknowledge the difference. That's not admitting anything. That's not rewriting history. That's just saying, hey, at the beginning of this season, he was one thing. Right now, he's another. And you know what? Good for him. Good for him in every possible way. I don't care how much you've accomplished in your life and your career. Nobody wants to end it badly. And Carter he's doing something about it. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Kyle, who says, so happy to get the win, DK. How many turnovers did Erik Karlsson give up, though? That depends, Kyle, on how you count or how you classify turnovers on the official NHL statistics sheet. He was down for 3 giveaways, which is 3 too many. That's not a great number for those of you who don't see those sheets on a regular basis. If you have 1, you circle it. If you've got 2, you've had a bad game. If you got 3, wow, not good. Because the giveaways aren't just somebody stripped the puck away from you. The giveaways are what in tennis they refer to as unforced errors, meaning you just did something bad with the puck. Now, that said, the number of giveaways tends to be offset in general by the number of takeaways. And Karlsson also had 3 takeaways, which is a very good number. He is exactly what he is. In my estimation, he's been much better defensively than I thought he'd be. I remember at times, especially in his Ottawa days, where he was just a headless chicken back there. He was running around. You had no idea. Didn't even look interested at times because he could do so many spectacular things once he had the puck that nobody, with the Senators or who was pulling for the Senators really minded. And I have not seen that Karlsson yet in Pittsburgh. Maybe we will, but I haven't seen it yet. I certainly haven't heard it. His off-the-ice demeanor is as commanding and professional as anyone in there. Even Lars Eller, and that's a high bar to be hitting. The problem that you run into with great players, and Karlsson is unquestionably a great player, is that they think every pass is there to be made. It's all just a matter of if I execute it properly because I believe in myself, because I've made passes that went through 4 sets of legs, this one will do the same thing. I mean, this is the same conversation we've had about Evgeny Malkin here for 17 years. It's not really that different other than that Karlsson's a defenseman. And when he makes a giveaway, when he makes a mistake, it's probably got a really good chance of resulting in a high-grade scoring opportunity against. I am not here to play Karlsson's advocate. I'm not here to, try to sugarcoat things in one direction or the other. I've liked Karlsson's game since he's been here. I do notice, though, in terms of what I see, hear, and read from the general public, that there's an increasing pushback against him, as if the power play struggles in general needed to be embodied by a single individual, since it's becoming clear that Todd Reirden's not getting fired and it's hard to get traction on firing an assistant coach. Let's start looking at the players. Karlsson's been as much a piece of the solution to date as anyone. He's worked his rear end off. He's spent all kinds of extra time in film study. He's talking to his teammates. He's barking at them in practice to make sure that they're doing the right thing, that they're going where they're supposed to go. And what do you know? All that work paid off with not 1, but 2 power play goals, both of which came by way of this new look and this new system that Mike Sullivan and Todd Reirden have put in consultation and communication with the players themselves. That's encouraging. Other things are not encouraging. You might have noticed that a lot later in the game, in the 3rd period, when the Penguins had a power play, there was a weird sequence near center ice where Karlsson had the puck, and then he turned, and then Gino was coming with speed, and I think Gino thought he was going to take the puck. Karlsson didn't let him have it, so Gino skates to the far side of the rink and just fires the puck back at Karlsson. Okay, now it was fired in the form of a pass, so it's easy to hide any potential resentment or whatever that might have occurred there. I couldn't find either of them after the game to ask, but that was something that was, without making too much of it, worth monitoring. But here again, I like that. I want somebody in this mix who can stand up to Gino, even Sidney Crosby, when needed. That was something that was lost when this team lost some of their more authoritative figures, like I've been talking a lot about lately, Patrick Hornqvist or Chris Kunitz. Before that, Pascal Dupuis, guys who didn't have any fear of the superstars. You want that. You want that in your lineup. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.